It's a volunteer program that communities elect to opt into or not, and there's no regulations that come with the scenic byway program. And one last point I'll make is, if you want more assurance than that, what I would suggest you do is you contact communities outside the Adirondack Park that have scenic byways to see if they have a regulatory regime imposed upon them because of that. And I think you'll find the answer is no, they don't. Two that come to mind that are very close to this community is the Schwangunk Scenic Byway in Ulster County and the Delaware River Scenic Byway that traverses Orange, Sullivan, and Delaware counties. I would, and if you want contact information, see me after the meeting. I'd be happy to link you up to those people.
Here's a sample of the street sign.
So they're all technically going to look like that, except the names will be longer. The sign length will be longer based on the number of letters.
Tom, not a question. I just want to thank you. In a time when we're always worried about is government efficient, you've done an amazing job of getting these up so we can see what it looks like, and you've crossed regional boundaries. I'm really impressed with what you've accomplished. Thank you.
Me too.
Any other operational stuff?
Tom, I got a question. These signs are already going up,
Yes.
right? What's that doing with the scenic byway? They're already there and the scenic byway isn't in yet.
So scenic byways, there's going to be another panel that's going to go along the road designating this as a scenic byway. The symbol is going to be not, this is not the symbol for the scenic byway.
Okay, so they're going up no matter what those
Yes.
signs.
Yes.
They're going on all roads.
They're going on
These
all
are
roads.
going on what to do with the byway.
See,
Two separate entities. This
Yeah,
is
they're
the designated-
two separate programs.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's in just to emphasize the point that Ed made earlier, this graphic symbol for the Catskill Park is really unique. There's no other region in the state that has a graphic symbol for a region. And
APA doesn't have one.
No.
All they have is brown and yellow, the color. That's all they have. They've never gotten into a logo, and I don't think they want to, because it's
Well, no, a lot of people are wanting to, but it's not on the table.
it's not on the table. So
I'm going to probably say
This
one.
type of yellow and brown.
I can probably elaborate a little more. I was involved before Ed and Mark. When FHWA came to us and said we got to do something about
Federal Highway Administration.
Federal Highway Administration, they had already met with the Adirondack Park. They had many meetings, just like Ed described, and went back and forth. They kept it brown and yellow. But when they came to us, they said we should really go brown and white for a lot of safety reasons. And they gave us this carrot of putting the placard up that you can bring in the park. This is nowhere in the country you wouldn't find this.
That's right.
Placard.
Yep.
They did not leave the door open for the Adirondack Park to keep brown and yellow. All they did was basically postpone what's going to be inevitable. The federal government can come in at any point.
They could technically, but the understanding that I had is that the landholders and the people that live up there like brown and yellow, and they'll make sure that brown and yellow doesn't go away as far as it needs to go. That's what I hear.
What the landowners
And the towns and stuff
I'm
want.
talking to federal government.
Right.
As a government agency, when I was involved in this is how they explained it, was that at any point, they could go to brown and white. And Bill, you were
Yeah,
there.
oh yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
I was
You know,
FHWA.
I'm not going to, Mark's point is that politically that's going to be a tough thing.
It's going to be a tough sell.
Right, but you're right, I think you're,
We got a gift here.
exactly.
Absolutely.
And we're on much stronger footing because now we've gone to a color scheme that they find acceptable.
That's correct.
So we don't have to
Fight the
worry.
battle.
And where this is going to help us down the road, though, too, is, I've got into a little bit, is the federal funding. This is a federally funded road. When you go to get federal funding, one of the things they look at, and I think even real estate gets involved, do you meet all the criteria for federal funding? Right now, we're going to have a big carrot on the table and say, yeah, we're all brown and white. That's one less thing that's not going to be in the federal standard, or not as a non-standard item for future funding. It should make us involved with funding right now, getting money, I'm sure, from Irene. They look at that stuff.
Will the signage through Andy's, will that have to be brown and white also?
What?
Will the signage in Andes happening down in.
Hey,
Not in Catskill Park.
If you're not in the Catskill Park, no. If you're not,
Soft round, or
No.
if you're in the not in the Catskill Park, the signing that Tom has been putting up within would be green and white. And that gets into the MUTCD, the manual. The only restrictive areas in the New York State that have this brown and white or brown and yellow distinctions are the Catskill Park and the Adirondack Park.
and we have the soft boundaries which we're defining. There's some communities that are split, you don't wanna, we don't wanna go green, white, sign, brown, I mean, it's, I would assume people would consider
So,
the Catskill.
just to finish that point up, in the town of Andes, down by the reservoir, you have the Catskill Park, but not up in Hamlet. So where that line is exactly is being worked out right now. Sometimes it's clear, sometimes it's not so clear, and that's what the soft boundary speaks to. So part of Andes is eligible for the logos, and we'll get them at least on the state
Is
highway.
that on Route 30?
Yes.
I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, a piece
It's
of
on Route
Andes.
30? Yeah, we'll look at it.
So, now, if your town wants to go with the local, small street signs off the state highways, that's up to them.
And
I want to echo what Alan White said about patting every one of the state agencies on the back for making this visual transformation that affirms the community within the Catskill Park. But I also want to pat Peter Manning on the back and the collaborative, because if we hadn't been bringing this more to a front burner for the last 3 years, it wouldn't have happened. Now, these issues go back decades about how to deal with the trails and how to deal with this and that. And one of the things that the collaborative was formed to do was to create a more cohesive sense of community. And one thing we realized was we need to acknowledge the asset that the Catskill Park represents, what a privilege and a benefit it is for us all to live and have property within this protected area. So this is just a concrete example of the grassroots work, working with the DEC and the Catskills Center and all of the state highway department and all of you folks. I remember you from meetings years ago, we were talking about this. So, mazel tov, okay? Mazel tov. And I look forward to seeing the wayfinding signs and actually have trails that people can see exist, and hope that the scenic byway, that we can ameliorate all the concerns and the fears that people have that we're trying to take over something and create a big brother. We're not. We're all little brothers here, and we're all just trying to do this in a grassroots way, and we're just asking for the support of the municipalities to uphold what they set out for us to do 2 years ago, and after all this work, just to say, God bless.
I just want to add one thing on that too. This wouldn't have happened without that grassroots. And there's a lot of times, like even in our commissioner's office, mentioning that this was being pushed, this is important, this is what I'm hearing. And really without that, and that's where this is going to carry on too. The communities have an opportunity to use the street signs in their communities, build the brand, and hopefully the grassroots, because we're going to be running issues too, where how we get the signs put up. Tom's limited, and his staff are limited, and in our other counties, and we're not going to be able to do all the local roads, but there's an opportunity that if we can build that grassroots here and other people get involved, it'll be a win-win, I think,
It's
for
like
this
the
region.
squeaky wheel getting the oil. And we've been squeaking a lot along this corridor.
We should squeak.
Okay,
Wayfinding.
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 Thank you.
Okay, Bill, you want to talk a little bit about this too? I mean,
Yeah, sure.
we've been doing some of this in the Adirondacks, and it's nowhere near where we're going with this here in the Catskills. But one of the things I again commonly hear from people is where are the places to go? And, you know, for the tourists that's driving through, there's so many other technologies coming that's going to help this stuff, but just having the sign is critical. And so we've taken this a step further than we have even in the Adirondacks, and that is working with DEC, identifying where are all these locations and naming them and coming up with what the recreational opportunities are. So Bill's been instrumental in DEC providing that information to us, and then Mark is building the signs and panels. And but why don't you just talk a little bit about how many areas that we're looking at? Which
Yeah, you know, this is an evolving program, I guess I would say, so don't get too concerned if not every recreational opportunity that you know of that exists out in the park isn't got a sign to direct the public to it initially, but we're